Everybody, welcome to Ronline Report. Amazing guest today. He's the only two-time Arnold Classic Physique champ. He's been runner-up 2 years in a row at the Olympia, Classic Physique Olympia. Please welcome all the way from Florida, Ruff Diesel, Terrence Ruffin. How are you?
Yo, what's up, Ron? How you doing?
Good. So you had a little bit of weather last week there in Florida. I think it was Hurricane Ian was one of the worst hurricanes to hit Florida in decades and decades. And unfortunately for you, it hit during your Olympia prep. So, did you evacuated? Tell me, where did you go and how did you keep your prep going and running your business when you had to leave home for a few days like that?
So yeah, it was at first I was gonna stay, and then I kept seeing more and more about on the news, and then I live right on the water. So I was like, it's probably best if I leave town. So I originally headed to Orlando. That's where we kind of stayed through the storm, and it wasn't too bad there, but the power did go out. So we went down to Miami, just because we knew things were okay there. The hurricane had already passed that area. And we stayed the rest of the weekend there until the power came back on here in Tampa. So yeah, luckily I did leave just because no power means no food. Yeah.
And this was at 12 that hit. We're at about 11. We're talking on October 4th, full disclosure here, but that happened at about 12 weeks out from the Olympia?
Yeah, it helped them about 12 weeks out. Yeah.
So not ideal, but it looks like you accommodated, you made all the adjustments you need to make, because I just saw your last updates on your Instagram, and yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
No, yeah. I think honestly, like if you have a will, there's a way. I even remember when COVID was going on, a lot of people found ways to make it work, even though if the gym was closed or something like that, they found a way to get the training done if they really, really wanted to.
Yeah, but you're not just training yourself. You have Iron Eden coaching. You have coaching clients. You have posing clients. Yeah. So you had to do check-ins. You probably had to do Zoom or Skype calls with people posing while this is all going on, right?
It was tough. So I had to cancel some things, which is tough because we just brought on two new coaches, Darian Bates and Alan Murphy. So right now my whole thing is trying to get them just a decent amount of clients. So me missing time, affects them a little bit more than me. So that's tough as an owner, taking care of the people that you employ.
Yeah. I also want to congratulate you. Just got engaged a couple weeks ago, correct?
Yeah. A couple months ago, back in June, I think. Now
it's been that long. Wow. I'm
waiting. July, maybe July. Maybe I should remember that.
Well, is there a date? Because you need to remember the date.
Yeah, the date we get married is easy. It's the last day of the year.
Oh, okay. This year?
Yeah, New Year's Eve. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah, I've actually been to New Year's Eve weddings. It's kind of fun because
it is. Yeah,
it's two events in one.
Yeah.
So congratulations. Yeah. Can I ask how long you guys been together?
Not super long. We started talking in March.
Oh, of this year.
Yeah. So
wow.
Very quick.
But when you know.
That's exactly what I said. Yeah.
I mean, let's see. You are 28 years old, correct?
28, yeah.
Yeah, you're the same age as my daughter. That's the only way I can remember anything. Yeah, so let's see. I've been married for 31 years. So yeah, you should be fine. You got plenty of time. Okay, cool. Yeah. Granite Nutrition is sponsoring this particular video. So I wanted to get into Granite, but first, it's been a year and a couple months since we lost John Meadows. And I don't think I've ever really asked you about, the time you knew John and working together and things like that. So I really want to know, how did you first start? How did you meet John originally, the Mountain Dog, and how did you start being coached by him? Because, he didn't coach a ton of people. He had a very select group.
Well, the first time I saw him, the first time I actually met him on two different times. The first time I saw him, he was at backstage with me at Nationals in 2014, and I was still very new to the sport and I didn't know who he was, but I distinctly remember seeing a very large man with a lot of freckles.
Yes.
It whipped in my head. I was like, okay, yeah. But the first time I met him, he came down for a seminar There was a gym down in Florida called Fitness Junkie, owned by a pro, Chad. And so he was having a seminar, and I was like a broke 21-year-old. So he was nice enough to let me come train with him for free, as long as I help promote the event. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, that works for me. And he took me through an arm workout, and then we got sushi after the event, and we talked about comics all day. So that was the first day I met him. Yeah. So I mean, after that first time meeting him, I really liked him. So every time we were in the same town, like he would do events at the Arnold. So even if I was competing or if I had to work at a booth, I would just go and sit for an hour or two. I couldn't stay the whole event, but I would go and sit and see what he had to say. Even when I won the Toronto, he had an event there. And after the athletes meeting, I sat down for a couple hours and just listened and ate. You know, I was like, I don't have anything better to do, you know, so I might as well learn something. Yeah. So I think even after that, I bought some stuff from him. I would email him, say, hey, what do you think is the best thing to buy here? So I built, over years, I built a lot of rapport with him before I ever actually got coached by him. So after Matt passed away, I spent some time just kind of figuring things out. And then I got to a point where it was like, I need to get back on track. I reached out to him, and same thing again. Like, I was not doing too well. I just got a divorce. I had recently, like, I had barely enough money. I was barely scraping by. I had just enough money to pay my rent when I moved out from my ex-wife's place or our place or whatever. And yeah, it was really bad. So he said, yo, you know, I'll coach you again for free. He said, all I ask is you come up to Ohio, pay for the trips to Ohio, and let me film some content with you. And I'm like, that's fair. And honestly, I was looking at his price, and I remember one time I booked the flight last minute, and it ended up being like 3 months worth of coaching for the flight. It was like $800 for a flight to Ohio. I was like, oh my God. So make sure so I end up paying for it in another way. Yeah. But wow. Yeah. You know, we did several shows together. We did we were able to do about 3 shows together. The Niagara Falls pro show, the Arnold Classic, and the Olympia. Okay. And we were getting ready we were in prep for the following year for the Arnold and Olympia again. But yeah, I got to know him very well. He let me into his home. You know, I met his kids. I met his wife, his friends, his family, his mother-in-law. I met a decent amount of people around him. And, you know, at that point, I considered him to be like a father figure, where if I had relationship issues or business questions or pretty much anything, I would just call him and ask him. So yeah, it was definitely very difficult when he passed away for me. And I think it's great that I'm able to kind of honor his legacy by, you know, being a part of his Granite now. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about next, is his supplement company. You know, I was obviously as shocked as anybody when he passed away, especially so young, 49, but he had the company going, and I was thinking, what's going to happen to the company? And I still, honestly, I don't know the whole backstory as to who picked it up, who's running it now, but were you part of Granite Nutrition while John was still alive, or did you become part of the company afterwards?
No, unfortunately not while he was around, but after the fact. Honestly, my fiance was signed with him, and my contract was coming to an end with my previous company. And so basically she had an event, and she like praised how well they treated her and things like that, how well the event was run. And the Subi, the athlete manager, reached out to me, and he talked to me for a while. And then so I called Mary, John's wife, and asked her what she thought of it, and she was happy to hear it. So we worked something out. Yeah. Cool.
So what do you like about the company? I know I remember John was very, very a stickler for making sure all the ingredients were perfect, the right doses, right combinations of everything. What attracted you to the company and the lines, and what are a couple of your favorite products?
Well, I honestly think that I like what John stood for. John was always about, integrity and being upfront, and I like the fact that uh everything makes sense on the ingredient list. Like when I look at a company, I look at and see what their products have. If it's a proprietary blend, that's an immediate no for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing is I look to see if the ingredients are dosed properly as well. So I was happy to see everything was good. So but some of my favorite products, I'm a little different than I guess most athletes, I guess in a sense, but my favorite stuff is the neurostim. I love to have like an extra focus element when I hit the gym. And I'll pair that with like the vasoblast. So just a pump and mental thing. Not a lot of like energy. I don't need that because I train in the mornings normally.
Okay.
But yeah, those are my two favorites. I do think the protein is very cool as well. I would love to add just a strict ISO way, but right now it's a blend, which is pretty neat because if you're slightly having an issue with like whey or milk type proteins, we have a couple of different things in there where it won't affect you as much. The proteins kind of absorbs slightly at different rates. So it's a pretty all-encompassing one. So it's kind of good for everything. So I like that. And personally, right now, it's a little thinner. So I'm still eating a lot of food.
Yeah.
So I don't want like a super thick shake right now. So I definitely appreciate that as well.
Yeah. Any plans on a Ruff Diesel signature series line for Granite?
Yeah, we're working on it actually.
Come on, they got to do that. They got to have that.
Yeah, I'm excited. That was another thing that I was really adamant about with like when I got with another company was I wanted something to kind of say was my own.
Yeah.
So it is in the works for sure.
Okay, cool. So I was surprised you've been talking about your knee. Your legs look fine, so I don't think it's a major injury. But what happened is just a little bit of pain that you've been dealing with.
Yeah. I was trying to enjoy life, and I enjoy life too much and hurt myself.
Oh, were you water skiing or something?
I was water skiing. Yeah.
That was just a random guess. I really had no idea.
Well, I guess wakeboarding technically, or wake surfing, whatever they call it. But yeah. So no more of that anytime soon. It's finally back to normal. Leg days have been pretty good. The last like 3 or 4 of them have been really good. Yeah. But for a while it was really bad. I couldn't the day after I heard it, I was like, oh man, this might actually be injured, like seriously injured. But wow. Luckily it was not. But I feel like I have bad luck. Like I got bit by a dog like 2 days ago. That's why I got the bandage.
Oh boy, what kind of dog?
I honestly don't know what kind of dog. It was probably like a mutt, like a mix.
Okay.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a Shih Tzu or Pekingese. It was a larger dog.
No. It was like a medium-sized dog. Yeah.
Okay.
Medium.
Another thing I follow you and I've seen you've done a lot of work in the gym with Joe Bennett, the hypertrophy, I believe is the proper way to say it. So what are some things you picked up? Because, you're a meticulous, intelligent guy. So is he. So what's it like when you two get together for training sessions? Do you guys really experiment and come up with new angles and things for exercises?
Joe's pretty much knows most of the things already. Yeah. The way that came about was he saw me all the way back in 2016 at the Tampa Pro, and that's his first show I won, and he congratulated me, and then he was like, well, I see some things you can improve on. So the first 2 years the first year I would drive down from Fort Walton Beach to Tampa like once a month, and that was like a 7-hour drive. Oof, yeah. So I would drive down I guess Friday night, train Saturday morning, Saturday evening, and Sunday morning, and get home. So 3 sessions. And I did that for about a year, and then when I moved to Maryland, he finally wrote me a workout plan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then I decided to move to Tampa to train with him, and it still took maybe a year for us to actually, for him to take me in and train me like every day. So he's very slow to bring people in.
But
But
I'm curious, were there any body parts that you had been having trouble really bringing up that he was able to help you figure out and improve on?
yeah. So if you go and look at my first few shows, probably from Tampa 2016 to Toronto, the biggest issue or the biggest criticism I got was my upper body, my arms, my upper body in general
Yeah.
didn't match my legs. So we were able to really balance out my physique quite a bit when it came to programming or our split. We focused a lot more energy on things we need to improve, and we put a lot less focus on like my quads. This year we're doing a little bit more, but last year we would do 2 to 3 sets on quads a week, which is like nothing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I was going to ask you if you'd ever sort of taken a step back on the legs, because your legs were kind of dominant there for a while, I remember.
Yeah. So that was one of the big things is understanding like especially like at this level, like I mean, you've seen guys, I've even heard of guys like Phil that said, "Oh, I don't really train arms," or things like that. Other bodybuilders with great arms might have said the same thing. You hear that stuff, but then you don't really think about it. You don't really apply it to yourself. But yeah, when you have a really good body part, you can get away with training it a lot less, and it'll still maintain the size you have.
Yeah. I don't know if you knew this, but Branch Warren at one point stopped training his legs for a full year. Could you do that? I couldn't do that.
I don't know about that. So yeah, I mean, people, it's really crazy what some people can do. I know Tom Platt. I did know Tom Platt's. His best placing was when he stopped training his legs. Yeah.
He actually, I remember reading, because I was a big Platts fan back in the day. He went from training him every week to every other week to once a month, and they never got any smaller. He was like, I just can't get them any smaller. So yeah, like you said, when you have a strong, like your quads, they're a very strong body part. It's not like they're ever going to shrivel down and waste away to nothing. Next thing I want to get into, because it's been kind of a controversial subject in class physique, is the height, where we have guys getting taller or trying to get taller, people using inversion tables, going to the chiropractor. There was that controversy with Horse MD down in Brazil a couple months back, where he thought he was going to be taller than ever before, and he ended up missing the weight cap by like 7 or 8 pounds, and they didn't let him compete. And then, of course, we know Bumstead, they had his height differently at one Olympia. We just talked recently. And it's, first of all, you're an adult, you finish growing sometime around, I think the latest you're going to grow is like 21. I don't think anybody gets any taller after that. Is there a way to artificially, temporarily stretch out your spine? Because I know, like, when we first wake up, we're a little taller, and we go to sleep hours later, we're a little shorter. Is it something that you think about, or are you cool with the height you're at? Do you try, because your weight cap is what, 175, 180?
180. Yeah, 180.
So would you like some more pounds to play with?
I'm barely, so like I haven't measured shorter. So at one point, I was measured where I had to weigh 175. So I'm happy to just stay at the 180 mark. I'm not gonna get another like 3 inches to be the next one. I do think a couple of things. Like one, I think personally it maybe should be every inch they should be a weight, because Breon, for example, he's 5'7", and so he's 2 inches taller than me, but has to weigh the same weight as me. It's cut off the same. Really? So I'm like, that kind of sucks, and I think, but as for your question, like, is there ways to get taller? The only thing I've ever seen people do is inversion tables. Yeah.
I mean, I've had one for years. I don't seem like I'm getting any, I don't want to scare anybody out there, but most of us, you're going to get a little shorter as years and years go by. That's the human body, guys. You're not going to get taller when you're 50, 60 years old. You're going to coming down. But yeah, so I mean, is it tough for you to have that same weight cap, and you're trying to add muscle and improve, or are you really just refining things? Because you seem like you've been getting bigger, but you really can't be getting that much bigger if the weight's the same. Or what's going on there?
Well, I'm definitely getting bigger. I've only had one show where I was like, oh man, I need to actually try to make weight. So I've definitely been gaining size throughout the years. Um, the only way you can really get bigger, I would say, is if you come in leaner. If you come in leaner, then you have a little bit more room to grow. Um, that's kind of one way around it, I guess, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, it doesn't get much leaner than you. The way you come in dry and fibers and everything. I mean, because Breon has said that too. He's like, well, I just got to get leaner. I'm like, Breon, I've seen you shred out of your skull.
Not much leaner, bro.
Where do you think that show me where the fat is that you're going to get rid of? And, I don't want to, he's moving to 212 because of that eventually. But yeah, I mean, that's another thing is a lot of the fans, they seem to want to pressure people like you and Bumstead to move up. Like Terrence should go 212 and Chris should go open. Are you perfectly happy? I mean, you're one of the greatest classic physique competitors of all time at this point. Why would you want to leave that division?
I agree with you, man. I totally agree with you. I think people, because I saw that a lot with George, and don't get me wrong, George did really well in 212 as well, but people don't have the same value on placings anymore. Top 3 in classic isn't bad. Like they were like, oh, you got 3rd, you should switch to 212. I'm like, he's only 2 people on the planet are better than him. That's not bad. Even with Breon, I mean, I get why Breon might want to switch just for personal reasons, but top 5 in the world isn't a thing to be sad about. For most of us, him being Mr. Olympia is a little different, but for 99% of people, top 5 in the world is amazing. But no, I think I'm happy where I am. Like I said, I've never been at the top of my weight limit either. So for me to gain enough size for 212 wouldn't be smart, health wise or even career wise for me.
Well, look at the popularity of the divisions. Classic, I hate to say it because I love the 212 guys, much respect for all of them, but classic is more popular than 212. I got to look at the numbers on the social media. Look how many fans there are. I have young guys all the time talking to me, and they're not talking about the 212 guys. They're talking about you. They're talking about Chris. They're talking about Urs and Ramondino. Your division it's the future. Okay? 212. Yeah. I don't even know if 212 is going to be around forever, honestly.
You're right, especially when you have guys like Sean and Derek, Hottie, Bonac, all eventually doing well in the open.
Kamal too.
Even Kamal did well, 2nd and 3rd, nothing to sniff at,
Yeah.
So it might get a little tougher for 212 because a lot of people are talking about how women's physique was cut from the Arnold, but no one even mention 212 being cut from the Arnold, really.
You're right.
So yeah, it is very difficult for those guys.
So we're talking about top competitors in the world, top 5. You've been top 2 for 2 years in a row now, which if you look at the pattern, I'm sure you've noticed this. Chris was 2nd 2 years in a row before he started winning.
Really?
He was 2nd to Breon 2 years in a row, and then the last 3 years he's won. You've been 2nd the last 2 years in a row. So if that pattern upholds, theoretically,
let's do it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you've been trying to figure this out, but how do you beat Chris? Because you're right there. You're so close.
Well, honestly, it's just been life. I think I always think, his first show I was able to beat him. So I don't think anything's impossible. I think I just needed time to kind of develop my physique. Like I said, like my strength is like my structure and how lean I'm able to get in my posing. Compared to like the top 5, I'm probably the worst at putting on muscle. Back in 2019, I had to take a year off to kind of get the size I needed to stay in the running. So I just know it's time to build that quality muscle to kind of fill out my frame. And I know a lot of people say, oh, he doesn't have weaknesses and things like that. But like for my eye, there's still things I can bring up, my hamstrings, Tyler Mann said, oh, you can bring up your back a bit more. So things like that, it may not be even a weakness if you look at me alone, But
Right.
you know, as you know, we're not alone on stage. We're next to lots of other guys who have, you know, each one has a crazy body part. So you kind of have to keep that in mind too.
Yeah. Yeah. That I tell the people all the time because a lot of fans get so butthurt when their favorite guy doesn't win. I said, you're looking at him on his Instagram by himself. He's one of
Yeah.
the top bodybuilders in the world or class physique guys. Of course, he looks phenomenal, but you
Mhm.
put 15, 20 phenomenal guys on the stage. You can't have a 20-way tie. Somebody's got to take first, second,
Yeah.
third, and the judges have a hell of a time. I would never want to be a judge. Just talk about a thankless task.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the old days, I think it was Wayne DeMilia said, there's one guy happy at the end of the show with the judging, and that's the winner. Everyone else thinks the judges are idiots. So, yeah, that's a little exaggerated. But last thing I want to talk to you about is posing, because you are known as, if not the greatest, one of the greatest posers of this generation. Forget about divisions, any division. And classic does tend to have much better routines on average than open. A lot of the open guys don't even have routines. Shame on them. When guys, that's the thing I want to ask you. When you come out, when you go to shows, you see a pro up there and he's clearly just winging it. There's no routine. You can see the pauses where he's trying to think of the next pose. He's repeating poses. I know they don't judge the posing routine. They don't even judge it for you as classic. But,
Mhm.
what would you say to these guys who don't even put 1 minute of practice trying to come up with a routine?
You know, honestly, I don't know what I would say to them, but I will say this. I do appreciate when people put effort into things. As a professional, I think you should take each aspect of the sport seriously. So even if you're not the best poser in the world, you could put together something respectable. James Hollingshed hired a posing coach for a couple of his shows, and he looked amazing because of it. I've worked with a couple other pros as well to help them bring something nice to the stage. Cool thing I just thought with Andrew Jacked, he's gonna be flying out to Tampa to
Thank
work
God.
So I think if you really want to do well in the sport, take things seriously, even if it's not judged, it elevates you in a sense. Like even my first few years as a pro, I wasn't in the top 5, but because of my posing,
Hmm.
a lot of the comparisons I would be compared with these guys because of that. So
Hmm.
it can kind of elevate your standing in a sense, if you can pose well. Yeah.
So how much of it, your skill level is through the roof. Were you a natural at it, or is it something you really had to struggle and really work very hard to get to the prowess that you have now?
It's a bit of both, honestly. I was definitely talented at it. But it did take me a lot of time to refine. Like I was always a creative poser. Like I go back and look at some of my old routines, but they were very sloppy.
Hmm.
They're very, very like just sloppy.
Hmm.
So now it's still very creative, but it's a lot more clean and polished, I would say.
So when you go back and look at, like 2018 Toronto Pro Survivor, that's people still talk about that. I still remember that routine. Everyone was blown away by that. Do you look back at some of those old routines and think, oh, I could have done this better or that better?
Yeah, I do. And I really do. And I do think that. I think that right after I do the routine, I watch the video when I get off stage.
Yeah.
But no, you can't focus on it. You learn from that and improve for the next time around.
Yeah. Well, you're a perfectionist. I mean, that's anyone that's at that level, they're a perfectionist. So I guess, how do you outdo these routines? I'm not going to ask you the song choice or anything. I'm sure that's going to be a secret, but for this Olympia, are you trying to come up with something that's going to surpass anything we've ever seen before?
Honestly, now I try to do, I think like when I first, after Survivor, that was what I worried about. Am I going to be able to do something better than this? But now I try to think of it like, let me see how if I can do something different. So I did the Loy blinding lights routine for the Arnold.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was a lot different from the survivor routine. It was a lot slower, a lot more graceful. And I was like, I really, really liked that one. It was something very, very different. And a lot of like I get really into posing and how it affects fans and stuff. So a lot of times with with slow routines, they don't become super popular, you know?
Mm.
In the 90s, they did, like Sean Ray has some very memorable slow routines. But he might be one of the few. Melvin Anthony, he would do a mix. So it would be slower, but it would also be, he would throw in quicker things. The only ones that have really been slow that have stood the test of time that are like really, really popular is Sean Ray.
Mm.
So that was a challenge for me, you know. This time around, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But we'll see. We'll see.
You got
I've
time.
been, yeah. I've been practicing, getting back. So when like people always ask me how much I practice, and when I for Toronto, I was practicing a lot for that show. I would practice at least an hour every day, but I didn't have to work much back then. You know, I was now with everything, like it kind of goes in waves. So I've been ramping up my posing quite a bit lately, and so now I've been practicing maybe 30 minutes, about 4 or 5 times a week, and that's pretty good for me now to kind of, and that's routine practice. Not I practice my mandatories every day, but routines and stuff is maybe 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah. Is there anyone else in classic that you think is also a really good poser right now?
There's a lot of good guys in posing. I would say actually, one of my, I think I look at people who I can just see who have like a natural talent for it.
Yeah.
And the guy that I see that's gonna be really good once he has some size, he's Colombian. His name's Diego.
Oh, okay.
And he took second or third at his pro show. He's needs a bit more size, but he's gonna be very, very good once he has that size to his frame. It's kind of hard to describe but I can see like something in him that's very unique with his posing. But now, I mean, there's still a lot of good posers now, but I think he's just going to be very, very unique. But you know, Urs is really good. I think there's no bad posers in the top 5 in classic. There's no there's no like person I was like, oh my God, this person shouldn't be up there, you know.
Yeah.
But I would say everyone, from Chris to Urs, Breon, Ramon, they're all very good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you can't have a big gut in classic, and I don't think you can be an awkward, clumsy poser either, because you wouldn't be able to showcase the physique properly. You just wouldn't.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, do you still have opportunities for people to work with you as a posing coach, or are you full up right now?
Not too many, but I do have a protege, Alan Murphy. I've been training him up, so he takes on a lot of the load now. And another one of mine is Tommy Wynn. So I have 2 guys now that kind of take the bulk of it, and I'll just check in maybe on the clients like once to see how it's looking, just to see.
Yeah. And that's ironedencoaching.com is your business?
Iron Eating Co. Yeah.
Eden, like Garden of Eden.
Yeah. I like Iron Paradise, but that's the Rock's gym.
Yeah.
So Eden works, yeah. So ironeden.co.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, that's all the questions I had for you, Terrence. Glad that you were unscathed by Hurricane Ian. Heart goes out to everyone who is dealing with you know, the aftermath of that over there in that area. Things happen, but I'm glad that you're okay and you're on track for the Olympia, because I want to see an amazing battle again between you and Chris. And I always like when things shake up, we have new winners. Nothing against Chris, but I think any fan gets tired after a while. No matter how much you love the champ, after a few years, like, you know, I saw it with Ronnie, I saw it with Dory, and I saw it with even Lee Haney. It's people love new things. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
That'll be fun. I'm excited.
So everybody, Ruff Diesel will be on the Olympia stage in December, Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas. Check that out. I know we still got some time, but everyone get the hype going. It's going to be here before you know it. Yeah. I can't wait to see the routine too, because a lot of times I'll look at the score sheet and I'll go to the bathroom or something. But if I see you're going to be posing next, I'm not going to go to the bathroom. I'll wait until you're done. Yeah, so, because you never want to miss that. So that's it. Wish you the very best. Congratulations on the engagement and all that happening too. Wow. So, man, you're getting married like a couple weeks after the Olympia.
Yep, not a little stressed about it, but
That's a big,
it is what it is.
yeah,
I
big
think
month.
Sid got married like a week or two after the Olympia 2 last year.
Yeah.
But year before, I remember she said on stage, "Yep, I'm about to get married." Yeah.
Yeah, that's, you guys are good at time management. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that's it. Thanks everybody for watching. Ruff Diesel, Terrence Ruffin. You'll see him going for the classic physique Olympia title one more time very, very soon. Until then, keep it right here, Muscular Development. Thanks for watching.
Awesome.